Alright guys, today we have something a little bit different. We are going to do a re-ranking of every MXGP game. There have been 2 new MXGP games added to the list with MXGP 2021 and MXGP 2024. Now my list has changed since the first time I did the ranking. It is a little bit different because my opinions have changed. I'd be curious to know how your guys' list would stack up versus mine. So after you see how I rank them, it would be awesome to know how you guys rank them down in the comments. I had a few people asking to see a re-ranking and updated version, so this is for you. Let's jump into it and start with number 8. So to begin, we have number 8, the worst MXGP game. This would be the only MXGP game not developed by Milestone. This would be MXGP 2024, developed by KT Racing. When this game was first announced, I was very excited and thought we could get some new life breathed into the MXGP series, and it wasn't the case. The game came out very, very bad. It was terrible from top to bottom, head to toe. It was terrible. There is very little good I could say about this game. The physics were terrible. The tracks weren't great because the ruts weren't great because of the physics. There isn't really ruts because you can't be that precise with the physics. The ground physics were bad. Yes, you had kind of free whips, I guess, but on the ground, in the air, the physics were bad. The tracks weren't great. The compound wasn't that fun. And the customization, very, very bad. We had gotten used to great customization with Milestone. This customization, terrible. You could change your helmet, which had real-life brands, but the gear, the jersey pants, not good. And then all you could do really was change the color scheme. So really bad. Same with the bike. The only thing you could do was change the color scheme. Now, there were a few updates to try to improve the game, but it didn't help. Terrible, not good, not fun, and easily, in my opinion, the worst MXGP game out of all 8. Number 7 would be MXGP 2021. This would be the final MXGP game developed by Milestone, and in my opinion, it doesn't do anything better than most any other MXGP game developed by Milestone. Now, the one thing this game does do well or better is the terrain deformation. The terrain deformation actually does have an impact on your gameplay, but the overall physics aren't amazing, and in my opinion, not better than any other MXGP game ranked above it. So the physics aren't terrible, but in my opinion, not better than any other MXGP game that's ranked above this one. The track editor, while it was better than 2019, because we had elevation, it was a direct copy and paste from 2020. The UI, the menu, the pieces, the maps, everything about the track editor was exactly the same in 2020 as it was in 2021. The customization, it was good. I mean, most Milestone games do have good customization, but it was virtually the same as it was in 2020. Almost exactly the same. So the customization was just a copy and paste, more or less. Now, we did have 2 strokes, but we had gotten used to having 2 strokes from Milestone in MXGP games, so it isn't anything new. So in my opinion, it's not a terrible game, but it doesn't do anything amazing, and it copied a bunch from 2020. So MXGP 2021 coming in at number 7 on this list. Number 6 would be this game, MXGP 2019, and this game was my last ranked MXGP game when I did the ranking a year or 2 ago. Now, since we have 2021 and 2024, those games are, in my opinion, worse. But this game, I know a lot of players loved it, enjoyed it a bunch, and I could see why. It had really good graphics. The tracks were really, really well done. It had the 2-stroke bikes in it. Now, not James Stewart, that's a mod, but it did have the 2-stroke bikes in the game, which we had also become used to getting from Milestone. It was the first MXGP game to get the track creator, which we had been seeing in Supercross games, but not MXGP. So the first track editor we had ever seen in MXGP, but in my opinion, it was the worst one because we didn't have any elevation. It's a motocross game and we had no hills to climb or whatever or build off of. And I know Milestone did make the adjustments and improve it for future MXGP games, but in 2019, while it was nice to have the track editor, it was the worst version. We also had an amazing compound, maybe, in my opinion, the best MXGP compound, maybe the best compound in any Milestone game, Supercross or MXGP. So you might say, with all that, with all the good the game did, why not have it higher? Because the physics just weren't that fun for me. They weren't my favorite. In my opinion, they're one of the worst. And I know you might disagree with it, and that's completely fine. It's just my personal opinion. The physics weren't great, especially in the air. You know, some games can be too floaty. It felt like this game was the exact opposite. Like you never could quite get air underneath the bike. You couldn't get lift. The jumps were very, very rolled off, and I'm not looking for Supercross peaks, but you just didn't get any air underneath the bike, so it felt like you didn't get lift, and that is the main reason why this game is held back in my ranking list. So MXGP 2019, while it does a bunch good, mostly the physics and the track editor are what bring it down for me to number 6. Number 5 would be MXGP 2020. While MXGP 2019 was probably a better game overall, the physics were more fun in this game, in my opinion. We had just gotten Supercross 3, and these physics were very similar. Slightly adjusted for outdoors, but very similar. And I really enjoyed the physics in Supercross 3, so of course I enjoyed MXGP 2020. With that being said, I do not feel like the physics translated as well to MXGP for outdoors, and the adjustments could have been better. That's what holds the game back, in my opinion. When the game first released, it was a missing track editor, it was missing a track, I believe it was missing first person as well, but later on, all that stuff was added in. It did have a much better track editor, in my opinion, than 2019. The maps were much better. You had elevation. The pieces were about the same, but the maps were better to build on. We had two-stroke bikes, which we've seen in many MXGP games, but we did have the two-stroke bikes, which you see as a mod, so you don't have this one, but we did have two-stroke bikes, and the customization was mostly good, like most Milestone games, so I don't have too many complaints there. Now, towards the end, yes, with the newer titles, the customization kind of felt like it was getting kind of rinse and repeaty and reusing a bunch of gear from the year before, but overall, the customization was still pretty good. Another bad part about the game, and I don't have a gameplay for you, but the compound wasn't very good. In my opinion, it's one of the worst ones that was ever made, but overall, the physics were fun and decent in my opinion, and that's why MXGP 2020 comes in very middle of the road. Maybe a little below average. I know I had it way above average in number 2, I believe, in my first ranking, but for this one, number 5, and that's mostly because I've just changed my opinion, how I feel about it. So, very middle of the road at best. Number 4, this is where my list gets a bit complicated, but number 4 would be this game, the OG, the original MXGP game, MXGP 1. The best part about the game, I'm going to say it right away, was the physics. I feel like this game had really good ground physics. It had decent in-air physics. It had free whips, if you can believe it. It had free whips. I know it was kind of canned because every whip, it was an animation mostly, but still free whips compared to what Milestone ended up changing to in MXGP 2 with the push the sticks together, pull them apart to do the whip. This game was free. Ground physics, in-air physics, very fun. Tracks, fun. I mean, Milestone had made Mud, the Mud game before this one. So this was a huge step forward for Milestone. And it still is very, very fun to play today. Now, it didn't have all the bells and whistles on it like we've become used to with future Milestone games after it. The customization was terrible. There wasn't really any to speak of. You could change the helmet and the font and, the color of the font and stuff, maybe your boots too. But that was about it. You really didn't have any customization, but I give them a pass because it was really the first one they ever did. And this is an old game. I don't remember when it came out, but it's an old game. So overall, no compound, no two strokes, but overall, the gameplay itself is what saves this game and can bring it in at number 4. It could be interchanged, but in my opinion, MXGP 1, amazing game, and comes in at number 4 on my list. Number 3 would be MXGP 2. This game was amazing, and I have very little to complain about. It was a huge step forward from MXGP 1. They slowed the gameplay down. They changed the in-air physics, and while it isn't my favorite system, it was really cool to see innovation and something new from Milestone. The whip system is what I'm talking about. So to whip, you had to push the thumbsticks together or pull them apart, and while Milestone uses that system for every other MXGP game they ever made, it was cool to see it in this game. The ground physics were really good. They slowed the gameplay down, and in my opinion, this might be the slowest playing MXGP game, maybe Milestone game, I've ever seen. So the pace was much different. Graphics were amazing. We had a really cool test track compound. The customization was possibly the best it's ever been. It was the first introduction to the Milestone customization system with the bike and rider from top to bottom, head to toe. It was fantastic, and maybe it's never been better than what we saw here. We didn't have two strokes yet, which is unfortunate, but minor complaint. We did also get the stadium races, the Supercross style tracks. I believe we had 4 of them, and they were really, really fun. It worked quite well with the physics. Just awesome. The only complaint I could really possibly think of would be that the tough blocks were solid steel. They were rock solid, and if you bumped them at all, you're going down. But minor complaint, MXGP2 comes in at number 3 on my list. Number 2 would be this game, MXGP Pro or MXGP4. It would be the 4th MXGP game in the series, and this game has aged like fine wine. At one point, I really did enjoy it, and then later on, I kind of decided I didn't like it for whatever reason. But then recently, in the last year or two, I've really come to enjoy the game again. And very recently, it has climbed up to number 2. Again, the game has aged like fine wine. It is incredible. The gameplay is awesome. The tracks are awesome. The physics are awesome. In air, on ground. This game was being marketed as having more of a simulation to it. You had more bike setup, more parts of the bike to actually set up and adjust on. So that was a big selling point to this game, being more simulation. No, it isn't MX Bikes, MX Sim, but it is a bit different. And having more freedom of bike setup was kind of cool. Customization was good. Like, again, we've become used to with Milestone games. It had a really cool compound. Not the best. It was very wooded. I don't believe I have any gameplay for you, but very foresty, but really cool. We had 2 strokes, which we've seen in games before and games after, but we had the 2 strokes, and the customization was good, similar to what we have seen in games before and after this one. So MXGP Pro has aged very, very well, and in my opinion, it is the second best game, mostly because of just the gameplay. The mechanics, the physics are super fun and have only gotten better, in my opinion, as time goes by. So MXGP Pro coming in at number 2 on this list. And finally, coming in at number 1, I do not believe it is any surprise, this would be MXGP3. It was number 1 the first time around, and it maintains its top spot on the ranking list this time around. I really do feel like MXGP3 is kind of Milestone's reflex, if you will. It isn't perfect, but it is so fun. Even to this day, it is fun. I always look forward to getting a chance to come back and play the game, whether it's for a video or to just play it. It is so fun. The physics are incredible. It is very arcade. So to go from MXGP 2, which felt a little bit less arcade, to this game, a little bit more arcade, was different but good in my opinion. The one complaint I would have is that the graphics were not as crisp or as clear or whatever as MXGP 2 or even MXGP Pro after it. But that's a small complaint, and I don't really care as long as the in-air physics and the ground physics are fun, and this game hits both of them. Best MXGP game by a noticeable amount. Yes, Pro was great, but by a noticeable amount, it wasn't even close. I don't even have to think about it really when I make this list. We had an incredible compound. It wasn't as detailed as some of the ones that came after it, but the tracks were both very, very fun. The motocross track, the supercross style track, you had free roam where you could hit huge transfers, huge fun, dumb lines. The compound was incredible. The two strokes, we had two strokes in this game. First time I believe we ever had two strokes in any MXGP game. We had Glen Helen. Very, very fun. Very, very awesome. So much stuff. It had all the good stuff from MXGP 2, and then they even elaborated on it and gave us more with the better test track compound, the free ride, and the two strokes. The customization was very good. It carried over from MXGP 2. And yeah, that pretty much covers it, I guess. That's all what MXGP 3 was about. And I have no complaints, minus the graphics being not quite as clear or crisp as MXGP 2 or games after it. So number one, MXGP 3 on my list. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. How would your list be? What would you rank them as? I'd be curious to know. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.